Aloha everybody and welcome to part 2 of Sonic Mania, and we've just been transported to another classic zone, this time Chemical Plant from the original Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And apparently the developers didn't get the memo that we kind of already did this in Sonic Generations. Started with Green Hill, moved on to Chemical Plant, whatever. These are the most popular zones in the whole entire series, so of course we gotta bring them back for this Genesis throwback, but also, the game does not automatically make you play as Tails. I actually changed the save files in between videos, so I actually started up a new save file playing just as Tails, so that I could show him off for a level and play with just him for a bit. You know, I used to do this with a lot of Sonic playthroughs back in the day. Would you believe, like, the last time I played, like, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic CD, Sonic 2, was in 2010? Like 9 years ago? It's been a while since I've played a lot of the classic games. Yes, sirree, Bob. It has been quite a while. But I guess you're all probably wondering what the heck's going on with the plot, right? What is that purple jewel that Dr. Eggman has in his possession, after all? Well, actually, before we get to that, I should mention that we're coming up to one of the hardest parts of Chemical Plant in the original Sonic 2, and instead of going up, I'm going to go down this time around, because downwards is another special stage ring. And if I go in it, I might lower the water so I can start breathing down here. So let's go for another Chaos Emerald, why don't we? Now we get to see Tails with a polygonal model. Aw, yeah. But yeah, at the top of the screen right now is the Mach speed meter. Every time you collect blue spheres, it fills in the meter and upgrades you from Mach 1 to Mach 2 to Mach 3. And Mach 3 is the highest speed that you can actually go in this special stage. So when you're Mach 2, you're actually pretty quick. You're pretty fast enough to catch up with the UFO as is. It's entirely possible to beat most special stages at Mach 2. But when you're Mach 3, oh boy, you go so freaking fast. So much faster than Mach 2 that it's even that much easier to catch up to the UFOs. But the problem is, the faster you go, the more unwieldy you become, and because this place has a whole bunch of spikes and pits and stuff, the faster you go, the more dangerous these levels start to become, unless you're like, you know, an expert Sonic player like I am. Not to brag or anything, but I am the Great Clement! As you can see right there by me getting the third Chaos Emerald, but whatever. It should be mentioned you can actually fill in the meter again, and it won't go to like Mach 4. Instead, it'll just give you like a little bonus, and that's about it. That's about it. You'll always be at Mach 3. And you'll know you're at your highest speed because the blue spheres themselves will keep flashing from blue to yellow, back to blue, to show that you're going super, super fast right now, so yeah. I think I talked about this in the original Sonic 2 LP, but this section right here was always a run killer for so many of my friends. Anytime my friends tried to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the first time, they would get to Chemical Plant, they'd get to Act 2, and they'd have to get up those blocks while the water raised so that they don't drown, so that they can get to the end of the level, and oh my god, so many of my friends and family just could not do it. And that was always a roadblock for them. And I actually think that section is a little bit harder in Sonic Mania just because they have a lot more of the 4-block formations where, like, they're connected like a staircase, you know, instead of just being individual blocks circling around each other. So that means you can kind of get boxed in a lot easier. And it feels just a tad longer to climb. It feels a tad higher than usual. So, yeah, that section's actually a little bit harder, but when you're Miles Tails Prower, you can actually just fly over it before you even get into that section. Something he could not do in the original Sonic 2. Maybe the mobile version of Sonic 2 that released later, but not the original. Oh no. Anyway, we have a mini-boss here. It's surrounding himself with a whole bunch of bubbling water that will damage Tails if it touches him. And, 6 hits usually kills any mini-boss. It's always 8 for Eggman and 6 for any kind of mini-boss. Usually. It kind of depends. The next zone we're going to be going to, the mini-boss has a little bit different of a hit points going on there, but you'll see. So, the first stage looked pretty familiar. It definitely reminded me so much of the original Chemical Plant. Nothing too crazy, but Act 2 is a little different because this one has a whole bunch of chemicals that we can use to bounce on. Right now you're seeing me bounce on the light blue substance, which only lets me go so high, but when I inject green substance into it, kaboom! Look at me skyrocket all the way to the ceiling. If you have green jello, if you have green chemicals that you're bouncing on, you're gonna go super, super, super freaking high. And it makes the stage feel like Wacky Workbench from Sonic CD, if you remember that one. But I'm gonna go left instead of right. The game wants me to go right. Most players are gonna go right, but I'm gonna go left and see what's over here. Because I like exploration. That's something that Sonic fans say is missing from Sonic games. Well, guess what? Sonic Mania has lots of exploration and lots of special rings to find. This would have been probably my 6th Chaos Emerald if I actually was doing all of them. So, you know. There are a lot of special rings in every single stage, and you should probably look around to see if you can find them. I'm not going to be doing 100%. I'm not showing you where every single special ring is. In fact, there are a few in Green Hill Zone that I did miss out on. This is still a pretty casual run. I'm not being that good at it. At least I don't think I am, but, you know. Apparently people find my Mario Maker stages really hard when I design them to be easy. So, what do I know? I'm a Mega Man player, okay? I don't know any better. I don't know any better. But anywho, back to the plot. I bet you're wondering what's going on. Okay. So, the prologue is a disturbance on Angel Island. Discovering a sudden dimensional breach in the atmosphere, evil genius Dr. Eggman detected a unique wave signature emanating from Angel Island. Realizing that it could be a source of unspeakable power, he immediately dispatched his elite robot minions, the hard-boiled heavies, to retrieve it. Those are the egg robos that were surrounding this unspeakable power. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails were also tracking the signal, but arrived a little late to the party. The HBH were already there, excavating a mysterious gemstone out of the ground. As they did so, space-time suddenly warped around them, catapulting them all to the Green Hill Zone. As the HBH rushed to deliver the gemstone to Dr. Eggman, it's up to Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles to stop them. Don't let the Phantom Ruby get into the wrong hands. So yeah, that's the gem that Eggman has. It's known as the Phantom Ruby, something you wouldn't know unless you read any of the promotional material or looked in the manual of Sonic Mania Plus or anything. Here's another special ring. That would have gotten me all 7 Chaos Emeralds if I were to do it. But I'm not gonna do it, because I don't wanna. 1 per zone. Anyway, folks, it's boss time, and this one's kind of special. What the hell? So Dr. Eggman has decided to challenge Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles to a game of his Mean Bean Machine. You remember that puzzle game, right? I'm sure you're familiar just with the Puyo Puyo series in general. But yes, this is actually the boss fight of Chemical Plant Zone. We have to take on Eggman in a game of Puyo Puyo. And in case you're worried that he's going to be like super impossible because he has an IQ of 300 and he's really, really smart, don't worry, don't you worry. Eggman's AI is actually pretty stupid. And this is probably easier than any level 1 match that you've ever done in, say, the original Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine for the Sega Genesis / Sega Game Gear, whichever you're playing. But, I played like an idiot in this match, I'm not gonna lie. I was doing something else, you know? I wasn't really concentrating on getting, like, chains and, like, hitting all the colors together, because I was trying to plan out in my head a way to do a 3-chain combo, where I make one thing happen, which makes another series of Poyos disappear, which makes a 3rd series of Poyos disappear, because you get a trophy for doing that. And so I let these things build up and build up and build up, and Eggman was actually doing somewhat competently, and I started getting a little nervous because I was like, oh my god, this is the worst I've ever done. But still, 1, 2, 3. Triple trouble, baby, triple trouble. Normally, I'm not always going for 3 chains. I'm usually going for 2 chains, because I'm not that good at Puyo Puyo. This has never been my puzzle series. You know what my puzzle series is? friggin' Pokemon Puzzle League, Tetris Attack, Panel de Pon, those kinds of games. That game is my jam, and if Eggman was busting that out on me, oh, his ass would have been grass in like 10 seconds. Even on the hardest difficulty, his ass would have been grass in 10 seconds. But ladies and gentlemen, this zone is completely original. This is something that has not been in a Sonic game before, and this, in my opinion, is when Sonic Mania truly comes alive. This is when it gets a huge burst of energy, and when I started really getting into the game. But before we explore the rest of the zone, time to get that 4th Chaos Emerald. And again, I switched save files in order to go back to Sonic and Tails. I just wanted to play Tails for one zone. We're back to the Sonic-Tails combination, so yeah. Again, you gotta get rings because they are your timer, your counter, and sometimes they're in capsules, and you can actually, like, bounce off of those capsules when you come across them. So, like, I hit the capsule, it makes me propel higher and forward, and sometimes it's above bottomless pits and whatnot, and you really gotta count on that in order to propel forward. And sometimes the capsules themselves, you know, they don't come back when you go through a second lap, a second loop of the track. And sometimes they're always hanging above bottomless pits. So you'll come up to that same position, and now there's no capsule there, but there is still the bottomless pit there, so you gotta really pay attention. And I'll talk about this in future special stages, but they do have like these very tiny walls that do exist, that you do bounce off of no matter how high you're jumping, that can protect you, but not always. Sometimes there aren't always walls, and you can find yourself falling into the gap below when you don't really mean to. So be careful, but yeah! I love the music in this game so much. The composer is a guy by the name of T-Lopes, and he does such a fantastic job calling back to how Sonic music used to sound in the 90s, in the adventure era, you know? And, Studiopolis. Again, this is a completely new zone. This was made entirely for Sonic Mania. It wasn't in any game before this. I love this Badnik, because once you destroy all the little balls surrounding him, he gets all scared and sad. But don't worry, it has a penguin inside of it, and I have to free the penguin, and then it'll be happy again. Don't worry. Only the Badnik is sad, not the Flicky inside. Don't you worry. But, I love the idea of, like, Eggman having his own TV studio. And again, going into the narcissistic, like, pattern of behavior that Dr. Eggman has, you know, it's Egg TV with his logo all over it. He's got all these things with his face on it, including like a motion picture that's playing in the background, a building that says Eggnog. Just like from an aesthetic point of view, oh my god, this zone is gorgeous. And to me, this is what I was hoping Sonic Mania was more of. Like, I was hoping that Sonic Mania, for the entirety of it, by the way, Sega Sonic Popcorn Shop, that's a real thing, inserted into this video game. Look up here. Oh, that's amazing! The little animated Eggman dancing on the film. Oh my god, that's so good. That's so good. But seriously, this to me is when Sonic Mania really came alive, because what I want most from a classic Sonic game is not to relive Chemical Plant, to relive Green Hill Zone. Here's another special stage ring. Not gonna go into it. Spin dash jumping over slopes is always so helpful, by the way. But like, this stage really just helped the game come alive, and it's this kind of stuff that I wanted more of from Sonic Mania. And I have no doubt that if this game was entirely made up 100% with new zones, I would have even more appreciation for it than I already do, because all the new stuff they made for this game is really good. It's not like they feel out of place or anything. If anything, they tap into what hardcore Sonic fans love about the series with all of the various references you've probably noticed throughout this level. Never mind the pink bot shop. There's like a Hornet vans that are supposed to be calling back to the Daytona USA series scattered throughout here. And, oh, by the way, this paparazzi bug, Badnik, it takes pictures of you, and if it takes 10 pictures of you, you become the most famous hedgehog in the world. That's why I got that trophy. So this is the Heavy Gunner, one of the upgraded Egg Robos that was transformed by the Phantom Ruby, and we're going to be seeing all the HBH, the hard-boiled heavies, as the game goes on. And this boss fight's pretty fun. It's a runner boss, sort of like Sonic Advance 2, but there's something it's doing where it's in the background the entire time, so I can't just jump up into Heavy Gunner in order to attack him. I actually have to knock its own missiles back at him. Now, one thing you have to pay attention every time a new cycle starts up and every time it shoots its bazooka, pay attention to the top to bottom order of the projectiles. So right now, missile, missile, and then the blue bomb, the blue missile, you know? So I have to dodge the orange missiles. They will damage you if you try to jump on them. And I always know that they go from top to bottom in that order. So if it's missile, missile, blue, then I know that two things coming up are going to be missiles, and I'll have to jump over them. If the first thing out front of the bazooka is blue, then I actually know to go close to the front as quickly as possible so that I can curl into a ball and run into it. Right there? Missile, blue, missile. So first up, missile, jump over it, go closer, ugh. And I always like to do that. Every time I run up to the blue bomb, I always push down to curl into a ball to instantly trigger an attack on it, instead of having to try and jump on it while I'm running in this auto runner, because that's just, it's much safer to do to just run up to it and push down. And first off, the Hard-Boiled Heavies theme song is so fucking good. The music in this game is so fucking good. And oh my god, I love this TV. I love the backgrounds and the sprite work and stuff. Oh my god. You know, I actually helped out Derek with Game Explain, Derek of Game Explain, when Sonic Mania was coming out, because he was asking me if there was anything in Studiopolis that was like a big reference Sonic-wise, or anything I could think of. And I remember just looking at the logo of Egg TV and thinking that, like, they have all these rainbow colors above the Eggman head, and that could easily be like the Chaos Emeralds for sure. But I was always thinking of it like the NBC logo, because the NBC logo is like a colored peacock. And even back in the 60s and 70s, they always had like all these peacock feathers above where the bird was in the same kind of horseshoe pattern that resembles what the Chaos Emeralds above Eggman's head looks like for the Egg TV logo. And if they were making an NBC reference, I don't know if they were, but if they were making an NBC reference because it's a TV station, I think that's brilliant. And, oh my god, this thing's great. I love that Act 2 goes from outside of the city into the actual movie TV studio. So now we're actually in the studio, we're actually jumping on the spotlights that are supposed to light up the shows and whatnot. Like, what a brilliant idea for a zone. The Sonic series has always just done everything. You know, we've had Sonic in a volcano, we've had Sonic in a digital cyberspace, we've had Sonic in outer space. We've done a lot of things theme-wise with Sonic the Hedgehog, and putting him into a TV studio run by Dr. Eggman, the ultimate narcissist. What a brilliant, brilliant concept! I mean, this is easily my favorite zone in the whole entire game. Sometimes when I boot up Sonic Mania, thanks to the Save Select feature letting me choose which level I want to play first, I'll actually start the game off at Studiopolis and just play from there, because I love Studiopolis that much. It's easily one of my favorite Sonic zones ever. And, oh man, Sonic Mania has a whole bunch of new zones in here, scattered along with the classic zones. And you might recognize some things. You might recognize some things like that sound effect and that effect of Sonic going into the cylinder. There's another special stage ring, by the way. And, Because, like, that wasn't even a callback to any of the classic games. That, like, going into the cylinder and that was a Sonic Advance reference. From the original Sonic Advance, when you go into, like, that Disneyland zone that's just before Ice Mountain. That's a thing from Sonic Advance, man. Oh, just Sonic Mania makes me so happy. You know, every time I play this game, it just makes me so damn happy. This Gallup Lotto. Again, Gallup is one of the logos on the Daytona USA cars. And you run through here, it plays this little bingo game for you, adds up all the numbers, and you get a whole bunch of rings. Completely RNG. Sometimes you can get Eggman's face and get a little bit screwed up, but that is very rare. I feel like that happens maybe 2% of the time. I've played through this level a dozen times, and I've only had the Eggman face show up every now and then. It's weird, but anyway, speaking of Eggman, time for a new weather broadcast. But actually, I'm gonna cheese this fight really quickly because it's so easy with how low the Eggmobile is lowered in this stage. And Strawn wins today. Strawn wins to blow Sonic around. Lots of lightning, but we'll never see that because I just took care of him easily. And yes, I feel like people would be eviscerating me if I didn't mention that the buzzing coming off of this TV right now is from one of Sega's really bad live streams that they did. The very one that announced Sonic Mania, actually. And it's the same sound effect when this TV is off the air, so yeah. Anyway, breaking! Flying Battery returns! We're going back to the Flying Battery Zone in Part 3, ladies and gentlemen. And if you think I took out that boss a little too quickly, stay tuned for Part 3. I'm going to be reintroducing Knuckles the Echidna. Till then.